I'm catching up with the CEO of... One more time. I'm catching up with the CEO of Aroa Biosurgery Limited, Brian Ward. Brian, thanks for coming on the program.
Peter, thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to see you as well, mate. Look, so people can understand, what is Aroa's key performance? What's its role?
Yeah, so we are a soft tissue regeneration company. So we are involved in repairing soft tissue injuries in people, and that's right from complex wounds through to surgical reconstruction of soft tissue. So we sort of spread, we cover that whole range of procedures.
So tell us what is the unique properties of this product that you're bringing to market?
Yeah, so we have 5 commercial products that are designed for different surgical reconstruction procedures, and all of those products are based on the same technology platform. What we do is we purify a very specific layer of tissue that comes from the forestomach of sheep, and it's a scaffold that allows soft tissue regeneration. So it has some very unique properties. It's a material that has a very porous structure, so cells can move into it very quickly. It has signals that encourage regenerative healing, and there's a lot of blood vessels that run through this material that help to re-establish a blood supply very quickly when this material's implanted. So we use that as a building block to then build a range of different soft tissue regeneration devices.
Okay. I'm sure people listening to this will be wondering, what are the classic injuries where your products would be used?
Yeah. So we started off in diabetic and venous ulcers, which are very hard to heal wounds, particularly in elderly people. That was our starting place. We're now in abdominal wall reconstruction, so a condition called complex hernia. So these are typically patients that have had complications with other products, where a window is cut in their abdomen and it's patched with our product. We're also in breast reconstruction and then reconstruction of soft tissues after injuries, for example, in trauma. So, it's a range of different applications.
You're taking me back to my old North Bondi Surf Club life-saving days, and when I was doing my bronze medallion, I know one of the things I was taught was that if someone is bitten by a shark, we actually would put some solid, like a piece of foam or something in that cut until a paramedic or an ambulance arrived and went to hospital. So I guess in the short term, that is just holding it all together, but in the long term, you need something to encourage the regrowth of what has effectively been taken away by a shark or any other sort of trauma.
Yeah, that's it exactly. So you need to, some of these patients just won't heal. Their healing is so impaired that you just can't heal them unless you can provide a scaffold and something that encourages healing. In other patients, you've got to replace an enormous amount of tissue. So a shark bite being a good example, or a gunshot wound. So in those patients, what you're trying to do is build up soft tissue very rapidly. And so what this means is that the body doesn't have to produce this scaffold on its own. You're giving a fast start to that healing process, but then the molecules that are part of this encourage that regenerative healing process as well.
So effectively, do you on a very deep cut, do you do it like layer on layer, introduce a bit of your substance, get the body to take to it, and once it's kind of embedded, you go again until you build it out?
Yeah, you definitely do that in diabetic and venous ulcers. So it typically is a product that's applied 1 to 3 times a week over 12 weeks or so. On the grafting side, typically it's just one application of a much thicker product, and normally the tissue will grow through that in 1 to 2 weeks. So it depends on the application, but exactly as you say, it's that idea of building up tissue through building up layers.
So you're saying that this is a product good for those people who suffer because of diabetes, very difficult to solve healing problems, and I guess tropical ulcers as well?
Yeah, anything where their healing is impaired and the body isn't able to restart that healing process. So it's typically the very difficult and hard to heal wounds.
Okay, so tell us about the commercialisation of this and the acceptance by the key customers who you'd love to see ordering your products at 1 billion miles an hour every day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had one commercial product in the US now for over 5 years, and so with that product and products that we've commercialised over the last 24 months, we've treated over 4 million patients. So this technology is now well established. We are predominantly focused on North America, so over 90% of our sales are in North America. So we not only have we treated a lot of patients with this technology, but we now have a lot of clinical data and published clinical data that sits behind the technology as well. So to drive that adoption, it's really about good clinical data, and then us scaling up our commercial team in the US.
What's the potential market in the US?
Oh, look, I mean, for the products that we have that are commercial today, it's in excess of $1.5 billion. So it's a very large opportunity. And then we have a pipeline of products that's probably another $1 billion. So that's the US alone. Outside of that, there's an equal opportunity in the rest of the world.
And what kind of rivals do you have out there?
Yeah, so it depends a little bit on the specific segment of the market. What we tend to see is slightly different competitors in the different segments. Typically with these biologic products, it's typically smaller technology-driven companies that are in this space. And so, there are some large companies, but there's quite a group of smaller fast-growing companies as well.
From a growth perspective, how scalable is the business?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're now doing $22 million in revenue. We expect this business to grow at least 50% year on year over the next couple of years. This year's been a little bit tricky with COVID, but as we sort of see our way through this, we think there's really good strong growth prospects for the business.
In a sense, I know, for example, I've got friends who are plastic surgeons, and they've got an enormous backlog of work which they'll catch up in 2021. Are you in the same sort of situation where lots of clients or patients that really were able to put their situation on hold, or there's no hospital situation for them, particularly in America, that there could actually be a whole lot of demand next year?
Yeah, look, I think that's exactly what we're seeing. I mean, we've seen a lot of our procedures are sort of semi-elective. They can get postponed for a short period of time, but they can't be put off forever. So we have seen procedures getting pushed out. As the vaccine comes online next year, there's going to need to be quite a significant catch up with these patients. So, we think the prospects for our next financial year are looking pretty positive.
I did talk to you about your rivals, but tell us about what you think your competitive advantage is compared to your rivals.
Yeah. So for us, what's different about Aroa is that we provide a very high quality biologic product at a very affordable price point. So, it's best in class in terms of performance, but, because it's more affordable, it allows many more patients to access this technology. So what we're essentially doing is bringing this regenerative technology to the masses and allowing surgeons to use it in many more patients and not restrict it to only the very worst patients. So in that sense, we're quite unique. Most companies that we're competing with are very limited to only a limited number of patients.
And the actual application of the product, does it have to be done by a surgeon, or could GPs actually do it in their surgery?
Yeah, our wound product for diabetic ulcers and venous ulcers can be applied by physicians or nurses. Our products that are used for soft tissue reconstruction are typically used in the operating room and typically used by surgeons. So it does depend a little bit on the procedure.
Okay, and then finally, what's the key focus for Aroa going into 2021?
Yeah, I mean, our key focus is on building out our commercial presence in the US. So we have, 2 sales teams there at the moment. We'll add probably another between 10 to 15 new salespeople next year. So building that out and increasing our penetration within both existing hospitals, but also adding new hospitals, to our customer base.
And what's the experience been in Australia? I guess you would have proved the model here.
Yeah, look, we from day one we were very focused on the United States. So our initial clinical evaluations were done onshore, but then we pretty quickly moved to doing everything in the United States. So that's kind of been our major focus. Only in the last year or so have we begun to do commercialized products outside of the US.
Yeah, it's interesting that I remember seeing an Austrade project work where they looked at companies that started with an export orientation. They're always the ones that do the best, so you've started the right way.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it helps. You kind of get orientated around the market really quickly.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, thanks for joining us, and we wish you a lot of luck going forward.
Great. Thank you, Peter. It's been a pleasure.